Okay, we are live, and this is Monday evening. It's a reality check with Rishi, and today I'm very honored to have a very dear friend with Gabe Quinto. And Gabe is an amazing guy. He is a council member in the city of El Cerrito, and I've known Gabe politically, but also watching Gabe on social media. I have gained a ton of respect for Gabe. He's doing some amazing work out there. He was a mayor a couple years back of the city and stellar leadership. He was also the president of the League of California Cities API Caucus. He's been doing some great political work. And through the course of this evening, we'll get to explore a little bit more about Gabe, and we'll talk about some of the hot topics around that's currently ongoing that relate to coronavirus. We'll talk about the stimulus package. We'll talk about the current run for presidency that is going on, and the campaign, which is currently at a standstill. But we'll talk about a wide variety of issues. And truly speaking, Gabe, I haven't really converged on topics we'll talk about, but he accepted my meeting today, so that's great. And we'll have a good conversation. And hopefully, I'll be learning a few things by talking to Gabe. Gabe, welcome. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you for having me. We're getting used to this self-isolation. I've been getting over a cold, but I'm pretty much over it. So I'm grateful that, I'm almost at 100%. And that way, I can help my city and the residents of El Cerrito. So thank you for the kind invitation. You and I go way back. So I'm following your footsteps here, Rishi.
Oh, you're a great man, Gabe. So very excited to have you, and we haven't chatted in a few months, so it's good to have this forum to have this conversation. So, Gabe, how are you handling the social isolation? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's a work in progress. To tell you the truth, I get really antsy, but I'm able to do the work that I have to do from home. I'm making a lot of phone calls and with the social networking that we're doing and email. It's almost like you're in City Hall already. So for the most part, I'm getting used to it, and
So, Gabe, is it me or is it you? But seems like you are breaking up, or perhaps it's my connectivity here. Hi, Gabe, can you hear me? Let's try something. Okay, you're back. Okay, Gabe, can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you fine.
Okay. So there was some internet connectivity issues, and you faded out. So let's. We were talking about social isolation. So and that's where you sort of we broke up. So would you like to just continue that? Whatever you were saying about social isolation.
Sure. With self-isolation, it's about having to use other ways of communication and communicating in a way where you're using the modern conveniences of Zoom and making a lot of phone calls at the same time. So I appreciate the self-isolation, but we can do our job here as elected officials and connect with everyone that we need to connect with. So that's been fun. Getting used to the social isolation is another story. It is about one-to-one contact, face-to-face contact, and we can't have that for a while. So I appreciate the modern conveniences that we have with Zoom, so I can speak to you like this, and this is fine. So that works out. That works out great. We'll be having meetings like this in the future for the city of El Cerrito. I know, Rishi, you've probably been doing that with your city, Saratoga. So it is one of those things where you just got to learn how to do it and just do it.
Absolutely. Yep. We're all sort of adjusting, and we can see a stock market that is sort of doing the little roller coaster, and mostly it's been going down. But one particular stock has gone up, and that's Zoom, and we are all using Zoom, and I think it went up like 50%. But
well, I'm happy for Zoom.
Yes, we have to.
But I'm also happy with the Bay Area companies that we have here that are in the forefront and trying to save residents here. I know there's a company in the East Bay and part of Silicon Valley that got the FDA approval of getting a 45-minute test, supposedly. So I'm very happy for that company. You can find out in 45 minutes to an hour whether you have COVID-19, and that is a Bay Area company. So I appreciate all of the companies that we have here in Silicon Valley and in California. They play an important role in trying to stamp this disease out here in the Bay Area, across the country, and around the world.
Yes, there is quite a bit of innovation still going on. And I can see how companies are adapting to the changing circumstances. They are rolling out applications or new solutions catering to healthcare, catering to the spike that we anticipate over the next few weeks, and also looking at the future in terms of how this world has shifted in the last few weeks and what they need to be prepared to deal with that. So I can see a lot of morphing and evolution happening with our tech companies here. And also there are some companies that are very agile. They are trying to discover vaccinations. They are trying to roll out like telemedicine, where the ability to do diagnostics with respect to healthcare challenges, specifically with trying to address coronavirus. There's a company in San Francisco that has already created some sort of like an online portal that people are using. And then there are bots. I got a few invitations on LinkedIn with companies that have online bots that can essentially help people conduct some diagnosis. So I think, we are adapting already. The world will get into a lot of telemedicine because seemingly with less than 100,000 beds here in the United States, we have to ensure that the ones who are in the need will get to the hospital and will be provided that opportunity. The rest of the folks, we have to sort of figure out, what's going on with their condition. So certainly, I mean, this is the bright side of things. If there's anything from this, obviously we have lots of sickness and illness and folks, unfortunately, also dying in our country now. And hopefully what we're learning will sort of prevent or will at least make us be a little bit more prepared to deal with these types of scenarios. So Gabe, what's your take? Was America completely prepared to handle the challenges that we are currently seeing?
Absolutely not. I know we have great people and wonderful companies. The top medicine that we have here in California, I very much appreciate that. I appreciate the leadership of our governor, and Governor Newsom's doing a fantastic job in trying to make sure that all 40 million of us beat this and we stay well. And but you looking at the news today, a lot of people did not take the governor's advice and got out of the house, went out to the beach. Californians, we just cannot do that right now. We need to stay home, stay put, and I'm hoping that with what the governor said again this evening, that our residents will know that this is serious stuff. All those folks that were at the beach, they don't know if they have it. They claim that they haven't been to China. It's like a lot of misinformation, and I don't like a lot of that. They're saying I haven't been around Asian people, but listen, you don't get this from Asian people. You get it from anybody that has this, and I don't like the racism that is going on with. To our Asian American community, to our Chinese community, and we're seeing that left and right. So I want to make sure that folks that are watching this and listening to this know that anyone can catch this, and you can be 100% well, and you can be a carrier of this. So it's important that if you have a cold or any remnants of a cold, you feel ill, stay home, please do.
Yeah.
But also make sure that you make sure you tell people that are around you that you have the cold and you need to stay away. It was very frustrating to see a lot of our young people at the beach this weekend on TV.
Yes, and in fact, Gabe, interestingly, our topic tomorrow, we have a team of healthcare practitioners, and we are talking about the context of shelter at home and why it is so important. But it is geared towards the young people, essentially because a lot of them are falling sick now, and we didn't quite expect the percentage to be so high. And so, what we are trying to do is to reinforce the value of the so-called social isolation. It's not the time for us to be out there at the basketball courts playing basketball or out at the beach. And so, we need to reinforce those types of values. And so, let's talk a little bit about what we can do as elected leaders to get our community some help. Sounds like we will have lots of challenges with small and medium businesses, and they are essentially folding because they are not able to bear the brunt of their employee payroll, and folks are looking at how they can adjust by perhaps letting people let go from their staff or also other mechanisms. And these are tough times. Restaurants are hurting big time. And so what can we do? Gabe, what are you looking to do in terms of addressing these? And it's a little blip on the radar, but it can be a pretty costly blip for the whole economy. What should we do?
Right. Well, you and I represent small cities. And with small cities, it's small businesses. And small businesses are the heart and soul of each community. I've had several conversations with our chamber here and with my city manager and my fellow colleagues on the El Cerrito City Council. We want to make sure that they have all the information that is needed to stay afloat. I have given them information on the Small Business Association, the small business loans that are available. And the governor sent that information out. It is out there. So we had the El Cerrito Chamber send information to their members, and hopefully they receive that and they are filling in applications as we speak. So this is very difficult for small businesses right now. They had no idea this was going to happen. Nobody did. We don't have the money to help small businesses, small cities. So it's up to the state and up to the federal level to help our small businesses. We want them to continue to flourish, but at this time, at this difficult time, they also need the help that they need to stay afloat, to pay employees and to make sure that they will have jobs when all this is over.
Absolutely. And, essentially what you and I as elected leaders are looking to do is provide our folks the information. And there are things that are available as part of our county, things from the state. And all we can do is be a conduit and provide people the information when they need one. And, we are obviously getting approached by a lot of people looking for answers, and the all we can do is we can do the research, we can point them to the right kind of sources to get those types of answers as well. So thank you for doing your part, Gabe. I really appreciate that. I follow you, I watch you, and it's amazing the kind of work that you're doing. So let's talk a little bit about the stimulus package. It's sort of we're all the economy is on the downhill, and everybody's sort of watching out for that stimulus package. We're talking about like $4.5 trillion or some money like that. And when we look at the 2007 the Wall Street debacle that played out, I think the total stimulus package that we talk about was much more than that. If you include all the hidden numbers that were included eventually. And so what do you think should happen, Gabe? How much of the onus is upon the people versus the federal government? Where do you think how should this come together for us?
Well, I know Republicans and Democrats in Washington are having difficulties agreeing on a stimulus package, but I'm hoping that for the sake of all of our small businesses and our individuals that need this, there are people that are paycheck to paycheck. We have a lot of homelessness here. We have a lot of people that need the help right now. We have renters that cannot afford to pay next month's rent, and people are scrambling. We have small landlords, mom and pop landlords, that are not able to pay their mortgage because they say that their tenants are not able to pay. So they're not going to have that. So I want to make sure that the federal government and the state of California know what's at stake. So I'm hoping that individuals will be able to receive that stimulus package. Individuals more so, in my opinion, than the corporations. To see that airline companies use that kind of money for buyouts the last time to buy their stock again. That's a wrong way to do it. We don't want to have that mistake again. We want to make sure that individuals get that amount that was promised to them. They were thinking $1,200, but I know Bernie Sanders is asking for 3 times as much. So I support him in that. This is a time when everyone is experiencing this. So these policies that Bernie Sanders has been speaking about, we need this more than ever. So I did not support that, in previously, but looking at this emergency, this pandemic, this changes everything. So I do now support his policies when it comes to making sure that individuals, that people get the help that the federal government said that they will give to them.
Yep, I hear you loud and clear. And so the onus is definitely upon the feds to come to the rescue of people. And I was looking at some statistical data on that, Gabe, and it looks like 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And this is going to create a lot of angst, stress, and pressure that will play up for God knows how long. So I think we definitely need to take some real action. So let's talk about, I see a question from Adi on Facebook, and he says that does flattening the curve really help at this economic cost? And so essentially what he's talking about is the the healthcare challenge we have on hand, it's a little bit of a dichotomy, or perhaps there's a convergence of problems where we have with healthcare versus the economy. So how would you address that?
I support flattening the curve, and we need to do that. Looking at other countries that did not do that, that knew about this, you look at what's going on in Italy, what's going on in France, and they're scrambling now. They have hundreds dying every day. You're looking at, in the federal level, how this did not go the way they wanted this to go. They thought this would fade away and this is just a blip. No, this truly is a pandemic. And with the pandemic comes things that we need every American to do. So flattening the curve by self-isolating, that's an easy thing to do. We can do this as Americans, as Californians. But you look at other places like China, where they made an authoritarian government, making them do that, or else you're going to jail. So I don't want that to happen here. I want Americans to do this voluntarily. We can all do this to help our brothers and sisters, to help our neighborhoods, to help our cities. We do not want to be a carrier of this. We don't want beds. We have a shortage of beds right now. If you look at county hospitals in each county, and they're looking at things doubling. And so, where you are in Silicon Valley, you're at the epicenter of where this is happening. And I see the positive things that your health department in Santa Clara County is doing, and in San Mateo County, Alameda County, Contra Costa, we're doing this same thing, but it takes all residents to participate and to do this. I was at the market. I was there prepared. I wore gloves. I wore my N95. But to see grocery checkers not wearing protection, I'm happy that the union for our grocery checkers, they made a point to make some changes, and they will have protection. Labor made sure that the grocery industry will be more aggressive in making sure that their frontline employees and all employees are safe from this and have the protection. It's a shame to see people that are grocery clerks, and they're not wearing an N95, but they should. I was at Walgreens picking up a prescription, and maybe some of the employees, but not all. It's important for these companies to tell their workers that you need to protect yourself. If you cannot do that, go home, because you are definitely going to catch this if you don't take care of yourself.
Correct. So Gabe, I would like to reference something you said about about how China managed to get things into control by having some very strict guidelines and actually putting them into play to ensure that people would follow the rules. And then when we look at the United States, we have folks going to the beach and having a great time. So where should we draw the line? Should we have stricter ordinances? Because if we really want to flatten the curve, we'll have to make some harsh choices. I think we have done that over the last week or so. But do you think we might need to see some really much more stricter guidelines and perhaps our law enforcement getting into play to ensure that our folks would follow the rules? What do you think?
Well, I know the governor is definitely looking at that, and so I support what he does. He will probably do this later on if things don't look better. And this is a public health situation where we want to make sure that our residents be well. They have children. We want to make sure their children are safe. here in my small city, we are looking into making sure that our children are safe by not playing on the school grounds or the playgrounds, because they can catch that playing on the swings and play areas like that. So it's important to stay home and for the children to stay home, for the frontline employees who have to have child care. I know all the child care facilities are watching the children to make sure that we want to make sure that the nurses, the doctors, healthcare officials, they don't even have what is necessary. So this shows that our healthcare system here in America needs a lot of help. So I know you said that you had the doctor in charge of diseases at Sutter. You interviewed him, so I know he probably spoke to you about that and the importance of making sure that healthcare workers, number one, protect themselves, because we don't want them to catch this. We're going to see a lot of people that will have to go through isolation if this happens.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm looking. I see that they're looking at having the National Guard on board on this. I support that. I support whatever we can do to make sure that we have enough people to build these hospitals, temporary hospitals, to have enough beds. I appreciate Donald Trump, President Trump, for making sure that businesses can change and to build these, make sure that corporations can make these masks that are not necessarily making them now, but they can easily change and make that to make sure that every American is safe.
Yep. And with the National Guard deployed in California, what I saw was that we should have access to many more masks because they apparently have resources. And I'm waiting to see if that truly happens. But that was what was in the news. That and also, we are currently putting together this whole preparedness effort now, and it may not be still too late. For example, what I saw was the Santa Clara Convention Center will have 250 beds for folks who don't have coronavirus. They can actually be checked into the convention center. And so we are creating these additional resources, like some of the hospitals are putting up tents outside, things like that. So we are essentially trying to address, like today, what happened was the stats on this is 42,000 cases in the United States, and with 541 that have died because of coronavirus. And unfortunately, today we had 100 deaths, is what I'm seeing. So we are still it's still growing daily, and we have to take some serious measures to see how we can put a check to it. And when I look at South Korea, South Korea is on a single payer program, and there was a news report today which was comparing how we pretty much discovered the first patient on literally the same day or around that. But South Korea has flattened the curve quite well. And they did things like drive-through testing and quite a wide variety of measures to ensure that they were able to address and flatten the curve. Whereas with us, the United States, it's still work in progress. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, so Gabe, where do you see this? Yeah, go ahead.
Definitely, it's educating all of our people. So I'm hoping we can have some PSAs done in the different communities here in the Bay Area. We have such a diverse community. So if they can do PSAs in all the different languages, that will educate our diverse community here in the Bay Area. So I appreciate what we're doing here in Contra Costa County, and they are been very, very serious and very aggressive in making sure that the county is prepared for this. So I appreciate the head of our health department and our board of supervisors in Contra Costa, my classmate and my friend Supervisor John Joria, who represents my area in West Contra Costa, as they're getting the word out. And I very much appreciate the county and taking a stand to this and being aggressive. To our Board of Supervisors President, to Candace Anderson, at the Mayor's Conference that I chaired earlier the month. She did bring our Health Director, and he did speak about the importance of self-isolating and what is in store. So they've been letting cities know, all 19 cities in Contra Costa are aware of what needs to be done. So we're just trying to make sure that all of our residents in all of our towns and cities know that this is for real, this is serious, and we want them to be well and to withstand this disease that's spreading through our communities right now.
Yep, I can see everybody stepping up to the plate and trying to do their part, which is what makes this country so phenomenal. So Gabe, final question. Let's talk about. We can. There was a lot of finger pointing earlier, but we don't play that game. Let's talk about what we can do going forward. And we have rolled out this national the neighborhood pandemic preparedness program, where we are sort of bringing together volunteers to figure out how they can help their neighbors from their own neighborhood. And there are things like that happening all across the country, where neighbors are stepping up for the neighbors. But this is, how we are sort of compensating for the lack of preparedness. And we are sort of still reeling with that, right? But how do we adjust this going forward? What are one or two things that you feel that we as a country can do to be better prepared for scenarios like this? Like, for example, we don't have masks, we don't have gowns, we don't have, disinfectants. I mean, those are the type of challenges. Or we don't have enough beds, for example. What do you think? What's a couple of things that you believe that we should do so that we are better prepared for the future?
I think both our cities, since we're small cities, we can take care of this neighbor to neighbor, neighborhood to neighborhood, street by street, district to district. We're small enough to get the word out, to make all the phone calls, to make sure that our county health officials reach out, and they're using members of the city council to make sure that all of us reach out individually to all the neighborhood groups, to our chambers, to the small businesses that we have in town. It's so important. So we can do this one city at a time. So I know probably your city and my city, we're in pretty good shape. And it's about helping your neighbor at this difficult time, because we will have difficult times in the next few weeks, where you will see more people getting their test results and showing that they're positive with COVID-19. And when you get that, you realize, well, I didn't know that I had this, or what about all the people that I've been around with? So you look at the federal level, and you're seeing so many people in DC that have this now, from the vice president who's isolating himself, to members of his panel there, to folks on Capitol Hill. It doesn't discriminate. Everyone will. They say that 56% of Californians will get this. So all we can do is slow down the process and educate each resident and let them know what you can do to take care of yourself and to take care of your family. And it's the little things that count. Washing your hands all the time, staying away from face-to-face contact with people with everybody really. And learning how to do meetings like what we're having here. So I'm getting used to all the Zoom meetings and meetings we're doing telephonically. We will have to do this for a while. And this is truly the safest way to make sure that this disease does not spread. But when you look at the young people that are carrying on and like nothing has happened, this is going to spike up. You're seeing Marin County, who I believe today they had 10 positive cases. This is not good. So, protect yourself by getting a mask. If you don't have an N95 mask, make one. They're looking at ways where you can sew one on and put one together yourself. But I know companies are trying to catch up right now and making those masks so all residents can have that.
Yep. We can see a lot of good efforts everywhere. It's coming together, and hopefully we can flatten the curve soon enough. So Gabe, you talked about the little things that matter, and what we see is, it's a little bit of a reality check for all of us. As we hunker down at home, and we can't take vacations. We can't really. We are looking for some very basic things like toilet papers, right? It's pretty interesting how this world has turned, where money may not have value anymore, and we are sort of we are concerned about the health of our family members. That has taken paramount importance right now. And the economy, folks are like, come on, let's have a life before we can talk about the economy. And how we read stories about the world becoming so much more green now, with how the water is turning, the pollutants are disappearing from the city. So all that kind of stuff is playing out. And where do you see this shifting in terms of how this would play out for the future? My belief is that it's creating a new sense of reality for everybody in this world, where instead of burning the Amazon forest for purposes of greed, let's figure out what we can do to create a better future for the world. And I think this was a call to action that was delivered by this pandemic. That's how I look at it. And what's your take on this, Gabe?
I definitely agree with you, and thank you for saying that, because looking at what needs to be done, it is taking care of your family, number one. And so each family, folks belong to different communities. So all the communities that you belong to, know that you have a responsibility to do your part and to help each community that you belong to. I know there are a lot of single people, but you belong to the different groups that you are close to. That is your family. So your family's not here and then they're across the country. Make sure that you reach out to them. Make sure you reach out to your parents often. It's the little things, as you mentioned. So I'm hoping that the day-to-day things that we've always done, that we do more of it, and we make a conscious effort to reach out to seniors, to reach out to people with disabilities, to reach out to people who are not as lucky as you and I are. So it's important to help your neighbor and to help people that need advice. And we have this huge homelessness situation. So I appreciate the governor looking for ways to find. He is looking into opening up empty hotels and having them live there. I definitely support that. We have so many empty properties, empty buildings, we have empty hospitals that could be reused. So I appreciate our colleagues here in Daly City and in San Mateo County who were able to reopen their hospital. So that hospital will be used for COVID-19 patients. So it's fantastic that the state is able to help that way. So I'm hoping that they will do this across Contra Costa County in my area, where we have a hospital desert. This proves that we need hospitals more than ever. So I'm hoping that hospitals, the county, the state will know we do have a shortage of hospitals. We do need to keep Delta Bates open. If they plan on tearing that down, they need to rebuild. We need to rebuild and have an emergency room built here in West Contra Costa. We don't have a hospital, an emergency room. There's a small Kaiser in Richmond that is taking care of so many people in the emergency room. But it's not enough. So our hospital was closed down. Looking at this pandemic, I know the hospital corporations, the non-for-profit, the profit hospital corporations, they know that they're doing the wrong thing, and they need to open up these hospitals and let's get people well. So I look forward in working with my colleagues in the county to make sure that our residents here in West Contra Costa, in El Cerrito, and in Richmond, all the way up to Hercules, that they are taken care of. And they do not have to travel a long ways to get emergency care, to get the care that is needed to end this pandemic. So we have people that have to drive all the way to Oakland now if they need to go to the emergency hospital, or they need to be driven all the way to Walnut Creek, and that's not acceptable. So we have hospital deserts, emergency room deserts that are not prepared for this pandemic. So I know the county is looking at this, and I'm hoping that we can all learn from this and be prepared next time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we do see an evolution. I think healthcare will be truly a focus, and we'll see a lot of efforts to see how we can be better prepared to address the needs of our population going forward, and more so in case we, hopefully not, but in case we see a pandemic like this, we are all much better prepared towards that. So Gabe, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your leadership in your city of El Cerrito, in Contra Costa County. And you're a great role model for elected leaders and for folks, citizens. It's phenomenal to collaborate with you. And I look forward to meeting up in person soon as we can get all of this behind us. So thank you for spending time with us, Gabe. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invitation, and I do look forward to seeing you. It's been a long time, and when this is over, I look forward in seeing you at our next caucus meeting.
All right, super. Enjoy the rest of the evening, Gabe.
All right, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, bye.